In today's podcast, we have a special guest from Ukraine, Roman. Now, Roman has a company called Travel Light Ag, where he's trying to connect Ukrainian farmers with new technologies. But he's also, since the war has started, has a company that's actually trying to help farmers where their livelihood has been destroyed by the war. During this time, Roman may express some of his own political opinions, and we just want you to know that these are his opinions and not necessarily the opinions of Tim's Take, the University of Missouri, the College of Agriculture, Food, or Natural Resources, or the Missouri Agricultural Experiment Station. Well, welcome to Tim's Take, and today we have a very special guest, Roman of Ukraine, and I won't attempt to pronounce your last name, but I will say his position is that he's the founder of Travel Light Agro, which really serves as a commercial outreach and extension arm in Ukraine. But since the war started, he's taken on another role also as World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine. And Roman, thank you, and tell us a lot about what you're doing.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. And yes, so as the business side of things for my occupation, we are looking for all sorts of agricultural production technologies for the crops that we grow in Ukraine. The main five would be corn, soybean, wheat, sunflower, and canola, but many more to come. And that including the science, the practical things, some of the machinery that is coming out in various countries, like, for example, in Canada and Australia, there are interesting solutions found. But unfortunately or fortunately, God will only decide, since the war began, we lost our commercial part of things because all the projects were just not possible to be implemented. They have included a lot of traveling, both outside Ukraine and inside and into Ukraine. And we refocused. It just happened by a chance that I was able to leave the country as a multiple children father. So my colleagues and my friends asked me to take care of their families. On the 1st of March, we crossed the border, me and 15 women and children, going to the sweet corn producer in Germany, Rupert Lindelmeyer. Their family kindly agreed to host all this bunch of small children and women at their farm. Good that there were no neighbors, because this noise from the children would be very stressful. So when we came there, I had nothing to start thinking, what can I do? I have no military background, and but I have good connections with farmers and with experts throughout the world. So when the daughter of this farmer, Regina Lindelmeyer, approached me and said that we have collected some money that we would like to share with those in need in Ukraine, we used, me and my team, our network in Ukraine to find out those who were in need for this money most of all, because at that moment, beginning of the war, every Ukrainian needed some help. So the story that we found that was behind the family's situation that we found laid a background for our program, World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine. And I will shortly just tell, this was the family whose grandchildren, actually. I spoke with the older lady. She said that during World War II, Germans came, like Nazis, fascists, and they destroyed her house. It took about 30 years for her and her husband to rebuild it. Then her grandson returned from the city back to the village, created a family in this house, and they started to do some small farming. They purchased the tractor, had a couple of dozens of chicken and the swine, so small production. And Russians came. At this time, Russian fascists came and again destroyed everything, so that they ended up in the shelter in western Ukraine. So they had nothing at all except the clothes and the cars and the documents that they were able to pick up with them. That was a small amount, 1,000 euros, helped them for a little bit. But we understood that on the news, there is nothing about these families. There is about political situation, about military situation, about the military aid coming to Ukraine, about a lot of things. Villages are not included, and people in the villages are left just outside. Therefore, we understood that our goal should be two things: to raise awareness about how these small family farms in the villages are suffering from Russian aggression, and second, to raise some money in order to help them rebuild. So since the beginning of April, we started promoting this program. We found 3 aid recipients, because this is not just bringing the money to the people, it's not bringing some food to them. It's rebuilding their houses or their production premises so that they could return to normal life and be able to do what they have been doing before. So we, as of right now, we succeeded to help the farmer, 500 hectares, who literally lost everything. All the inputs, all the tractors, all the machinery. We found him a tractor, and thanks to our outreach, there was a separate program that collected $14,000 for him so he was able to do the winter crops planting. The second was the lady who lost the house, the summer house, and the basement and the production facility where they stored all the equipment, and there were some animals there. So we built a house for her. Just last week we reported that it is finished, and the third one is still in the process. This is the lady whose barn with animals was shot 3 times with missiles. Within 4 days, 3 missiles hit the barn. It was smaller ones, not the ones that, but the barn with animals was destroyed totally. Chicken and swine and pigs. There are still 8 cows that she's milking, and we tried to rebuild the barn for her. And the house is wooden, so it was shredded with the explosion. And now at winter time, it's cold there. So she, once we finish, she will be able to spend the winter in this barn that will include some of the kitchen and bathroom. So this is what we have done, but we are looking for all sorts of foundations and maybe governmental programs to invite to do the same as we, because now let's talk about numbers. So Ukrainian agriculture in total has 70 million acres of land, which is 28 million hectares. This is the farmland that is actually producing crops. All the crops that we are producing from the protein value can feed up to 600 million people. Yes, some of it goes for the cattle, but the wheat, and we've been known in Europe as the breadbasket of wheat, is actually feeding the people in Africa and other countries. Yes, it is not the highest quality. You will not be able to use it for the upscale production of pasta or pastries, but it is wheat, soft white, winter wheat mainly, 95% is winter wheat, with the protein level up to 15%. So it is very valuable for the nutrition of people. 60 million of people. This is the total amount of people that can be fed by Ukrainian agriculture.
Is that about the equivalent of Europe? Europe's probably not.
No, I think in Europe it would be a little bit more, because the population of Europe is very dense. For example, only Germany has 82 million.
Okay.
And it's about half of Ukrainian size. And Ukraine is the size of Texas, just a little bit less. Our population is 42 million. So when at the beginning of the war there were a lot of programs to bring food to Ukraine, I was just shocked. Why do we need food in Ukraine if we are feeding people? What we need is to fix the chains that were broken, logistical chains that were broken because of the war. And we will be able not only to supply our army, our people, but we will be able to keep supplying the countries who depend upon us. And interesting fact, Iran is in top 3 or 5 countries that have always been buying Ukrainian produce. Now they are the ally of Russia, sending missiles and Shahed drones to attack Ukraine.
Because, first of all, Ukraine is some of the best soil in the world.
Yes, and here we are to speak about 6% of the world's black soils in the volume, because maybe acreage-wise it is not that substantial, but if you dig deep, I've seen my neighbor digging a cell, so all the way he was digging over 6 feet, even up to 10 probably. It was as black as on the top. So all the profile of the soil was black.
So we're probably, in this country, we're talking about Iowa, the I-state area.
Yeah, something similar.
That's what Europe has, and that's being attacked right now. Well, not only, and we talked earlier how you really just got over the Soviet occupation for how many years, and the agriculture had went from an import to an export.
Very rightly said, yes.
And so now it's get destroyed again. And I was talking to another colleague earlier that they'll even see how you could even get any agricultural done under war conditions. And if you did get it harvested, is there any place to put it because they blocked your ports to export for you since the war started?
Yes, that's right. So the biggest impact on the development of Ukrainian agricultural industry was not when the collective farms were freed up from the system that existed in Soviet Union, but in the year 2000 when it was allowed to privatize the collective farms. So for you to understand, all the land was evenly distributed between the people of each of the region. Therefore, every citizen of Ukraine, since the independence of the Ukraine in 1991, got a land plot. Until the year 2000, the collective farms were still owned by the government, so they were very ineffective. For you to understand, the leaders of the collective farms in the Soviet Union were always saying that agriculture cannot be profitable. It must be subsidized by the industry like machinery building or something else. So they built the logistical chain to import agricultural produce from other countries. For example, we in Soviet Union, we were importing sunflower oil from Southern America, and it was fine-tuned so that the ships with oil would come to the ports in Black Sea, and then through the railroads supply all the Soviet Union. When in the year 2000, this law that allowed to privatize the farms came, the people who are really from the industry, the local people came there, and they were purchasing farms of a couple of thousand of hectares, not with the land, just the business, for a couple of hundreds of dollars. Yes, with huge debts, with hugely devastated infrastructure, old machinery, but still it was a farm. And they brought order into these businesses. They became profitable. They were able to purchase agricultural equipment, purchase some seeds that are genetically better than the ones that were before, and they have developed the system of agriculture production so that this whole infrastructural logistics was just flipped over to, instead of importing, to export sunflower oil, and now we export 50%, half of the world's sunflower oil that is on the market, the consumption. So Ukraine is the leader in this from the export standpoint. Corn, volume-wise, we produce most corn in Ukraine. acreage-wise is wheat. So the production of wheat is still quite, from the yield standpoint, is still quite low compared to Great Britain or even to the state of Washington, where you have here the soft white winter wheat. That's why acreage-wise, usually we have about 9 million hectares, up to 9 million. So from 8 to 9 of winter crops. Winter crops are winter canola and winter wheat. Depending on how the winter has passed, they replant some of the acres, and then the acreage of the winter crops is decreased. But that's to be added to the spring wheat. That's why we have the crop from the acreage standpoint, number one, wheat. Corn, it is cheaper in the sales, like in the value, but it is the queen of agricultural commodities worldwide. And although we don't have the ethanol industry like you have here, every farmer who was able to produce corn, who has been producing it, even under the precipitation of 10 inches.
Wow.
And they said to me that they succeeded with the regenerative farming, having some crops in between the wide row system. In Odessa region, they, in some years, were able to harvest up to 160 bushels per acre.
On 10 inches of rainfall.
Yes. Even lower. They said that there were years that they had annual, not seasonal, annual precipitation only 200 millimeters. 200 millimeters, this is a little less than 7 inches.
Yes. Wow. So you're very good soils, but you're fairly dry compared to Missouri.
Yes, of course. Missouri is a lucky state, and at the beginning of my career, the farmers would come to Iowa, Illinois, Ohio, Missouri, and they would say, Roman, we need to see something more risky, because we live in the risky zone, farming zone. And that was mainly tied up to the precipitation, because the best in Ukraine would be 30 inches of rainfall annual. Higher would be only in the mountains.
You're probably much like Kansas.
Yes, very much. Wichita and go up from that parallel. That's our situation.
All right, Roman. In the break, you were mentioning that there's a Budapest resolution that you all gave up your nuclear weapons that were from the Soviet times, and in return, you became cooperating with the West.
Very rightly said. So we, after the collapse of Soviet Union, 1991, we were the third largest nuclear country worldwide.
So number 3 behind, right
Yes.
behind the United States and Russia.
Yes.
Oh wow, pretty powerful.
Yes, that's true. And there was a kind of pressing on Ukraine to give up the nuclear weapon in return for recognition it as the sovereign state in the borders that Ukraine had at that moment. So we agreed, and we gave off all the nuclear weapon, including even the carriers like aircrafts that we might have used right now for the other missiles. We gave them off, and Ukraine was admitted in these boundaries, in these borders, 1991 by actually all of the countries that I know worldwide. That included Donbass and Crimea. So and Russia was one of the participants of that memorandum. They admitted us as the sovereign state in these borders, and they, along with Great Britain and United States, were guaranteeing our security from the military standpoint if we get rid of the nuclear weapons. They got some of those nuclear weapons for their arsenal, so we gave it to Russia.
To tie what you have done before in Travel Light, in that with regenerative agriculture and bringing even more modern agriculture to Ukraine, now you've really got the challenge is we've got land that's tore up by artillery shells and what, that we've got to fix this back to where it was before. But that really involves in what you're here in the United States trying to find more information about how to do this.
Yes, and we've always been trying to satisfy the demand of our clients. So at the beginning of my career, farmers were interested in machinery, in all sorts of planters and so on, in grid soil sampling, variable rate application of the inputs. When the war began, before that, very popular was the precision farming technology. Just 2017 till the beginning of the war, and even USAID were funding. So I was hired by the implementer of USAID programs to do the trainings on precision farming in animal, in crops production, and I was contacted by them after the war began. And they said, so we need to proceed, but what can you offer? And I started thinking, what is the most wanted or up-to-date topic in precision farming for Ukrainian farmers right now? When they cannot export, when they have lack of inputs, when they have lack of safety, and they are thinking how to survive, they will definitely not be thinking about purchasing some new monitor for the tractor or some fancy equipment. But in fact, communicating with the farmers, we understood that the most painful topic is the fields that have been shredded with the missiles, with the artillery, with mines. And as our President Zelensky said during the great or Geo20 meeting, or as he said, Geo19, rightly said, Russia excluded, so that the eighth point of his speech was about the land that was mined, that has been mined and has been destroyed. So in the era when all the developed countries are thinking how to minimize the tillage, how to increase the biology in the soil and less disturb this biology, we have the farmland that has just started to implement some no-till practices with so much destruction and pollution from these explosions. And according to Zelensky, about 200,000 of hectares, which equals to 500,000 acres at least of the land. This is what we can see right now, because 20% of Ukrainian farmland is still under occupation. We don't know what's happening there. 20% from 70 million acres. So wow. Some fields, if you look at them, it looks like the body that has been covered with this disease, chickenpox or what? Yeah.
Oh, the craters.
Craters, yes. And majority of those craters, yes, there are some that are huge. They require hundreds of truckloads of soil to level it up. But those are from mines coming from the airplanes. Just less of the craters are like that. Majority are the artillery, the small artillery that exploded. So we came up with an idea that is right now is being considered or like assessed by USAID program, and I hope there will be others joining. We want to implement this as the massive project that will help not only Ukrainian soils, but also the soils of other countries like Iran, Serbia, Saudi Arabia, and others that have land that is not farmed for the reason of military involvement. So it has a number of stages, and the beauty of this program is that in Ukraine we have companies or specialists that can run this, and we do not need to import any equipment or any technologies from abroad. We have it in Ukraine. So the first stage is to fly with the drone and visually, optically, map the field with all these potholes or craters. The second is to run with the drone, and we have these drones, the systems, the prototypes. It's either the tractor that is self-propelled with the wings like the sprayer, but instead of the nozzles they have the metal detectors, or it's drone flying with the same metal detectors and pointing out where there are either the wrecks or the actual mines sitting, so that the demining personnel, like military, would not need to go through all the field, but instead they would go to the coordinates that the drones provided. This is much cheaper, much faster, and much more effective. After this team, because for you to understand 1 square meter, which is meter is 3 feet, square feet, it would be about 9 square feet, is worth from $5 to $15 for the demining procedure, depending on the difficulty. The company like Harvest, this is the name of the company, they have suffered probably most from agricultural companies. They have a cluster next to Kyiv, on the north from Kyiv. They said that 5,000 hectares are badly mined still. 5,000 hectares, this is 12.5 thousand acres of land that they cannot farm for the reason that there are a lot of mines there. So yes, but that's just in the area around Kyiv. We have Kharkiv, we have Kherson, and other areas. So the military go there, they identify, they demine. Then we come there with the device named PXRF, and there is a company in Ukraine that produces those devices. We scan for the pollutants. We have a scientist in Ukraine who gets this information from the cloud because the scanner has GPS coordinates. We collect this information into the cloud with the map. So here we have the excess of this pollutant, excess of this pollutant.
And what's some examples of those pollutants that from the shelling?
Right now we have not been there, so we do not know. But it can be from plumbum to a lot of others, and they can be fixed with the regenerative egg. On this traveling throughout the United States,
getting the biology going, getting the.
That's right. Yes, I've communicated with the worm farmers that do composting. They said that they can the biology, the fungi and the bacteria can dismantle these chemical elements into organic elements. It's just a matter of knowing what elements are there and what kind of biology should be implemented there. So we have the scientist in Ukraine. His farm is named Kolos, and he does the regen. He's probably the most active in Ukraine in this topic. He will develop, and he already said to me that they have been working on this, how to fix the soils, the compost recipes in these craters. Then we use the LiDAR technology that is in every cell phone. These 3 cameras then can estimate the volume of land that is needed into these craters. We calculate everything and we bring the truckloads of the soil, just leave it like that for a year or 2, and then it returns to the production. So this is the fully closed, turnkey program, starting from the very unsafe field to a very safe field that is not only producing the traditional technology, but that it sets the success story to the regenerative agriculture. So with help of biology, we fixed what was dangerous even to walk in. But now we can produce maybe not organic stuff, but at least safe food.
And what you'll learn from this will all benefit.
Of course.
We can turn soils that are being abused,
that have been devastated, that have been just run out from production from the over-intensive agricultural technologies. And it can. So just recently, the population of the world has stepped over 8 billion. Any land will be a very important source of food in the nearest future. And if this project goes successful, it can fix the lands after Ukrainian war, lands after other wars, and then we can proceed to other even deserts.
I was thinking Africa soils that have been farmed for thousands of years that have some issues. These could be fixed.
Of course.
You know, often in the worst times, good things come out, and I think maybe what you all will be doing in regenerative agriculture will have such a worldwide impact that we will have something good come out of this. A huge sacrifice.
Yes, I agree with you. The price is huge, but we need to make not only right conclusions, but we need to fix the things that we were doing wrong at the beginning, before the war.
Well, and we're so glad that you've came to the University of Missouri to not only learn from us, but we've learned a lot from you all.
This is the only way to increase our knowledge, to learn from each other. And if someone is interested to know how the project develops in the future or what's going on in Ukraine in the agricultural fields and in the battlefields, we run a bi-weekly update on UA. The details can be found on the website World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine, wrru.org/live.
Okay. So it's www.wrru.org. Okay.
Yeah, all the details are there.
Perfect.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak out and to spread the word about what's really important right now.
It is. It really is, and we're glad to say that we are your ally, and we want to work on this together.
Yeah, we are grateful to all the countries, to all the individuals who support in any way this fight for the freedom of democracy and for the freedom of law worldwide. It's not only our own problem. It's the fight for the dominance of law and democracy worldwide. Nothing else.
And how we can work together to produce food for everyone.
Yeah, this is a second very important topic.
Right. Thank you, Roman. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you everyone who are paying attention to this issue. All together we will fight and we will win for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's it for this Tim's Take, and it's a little different what we've talked about before, but it's extremely important, and it's important to agriculture and humanity.